I really have to wonder, what is with all these mainstream articles lately that either want to bash on the expanded universe or expanded universe fans? And with no evidence to back up their claims, of course. Oh well, if they keep writing them, I'll keep debunking them, I suppose. This article is called Star Wars: How the Expanded Universe Became a Gatekeeping Weapon. Oh boy, I am so excited. It's written by Brenton Stewart and is on CBR.com. I'll put a link to it in the description. It starts with the tagline, "The Star Wars fandom grows increasingly toxic over the years, and the divide between Legends canon and Disney doesn't help." First off, I don't necessarily agree that the Star Wars fandom has grown more toxic, nor does Brenton ever provide evidence or reasoning why he thinks it is. I think more and more, in a lot of people's opinions, Disney has been putting out shoddy product when it comes to Star Wars. It's turning people away or making them resent this inferior version of Star Wars. Don't mistake criticism for toxic behavior. Certainly don't expect only positive reactions to what you make. I'm an Expanded Universe / Legends fan, and I'm not going to cheerlead every decision that comes out of Disney. In fact, I despise the direction that they're going, but I don't mind the new canon or its fans at all. Regarding the divide between Legends canon and Disney, you mean the divide that was created when Disney decided not to make any new Legends content. Just the Old Republic in a single comic issue in over 6 years. In my opinion, Star Wars is in a far worse place than it has ever been. The EU has had next to nothing in regards to content. How Lucasfilm currently operates, they either want EU fans to either accept the new canon, or for us to kindly keep quiet, and forget what made us such big fans in the first place. And it sucks, because they definitely could have kept it going as an alternate universe to the new canon. I think I've made that point dozens of times. It's a sad state of affairs when even something minor as a single Legends novel per year would be a massive, massive improvement. Now we don't have that, but what we do have is several articles telling us what bad people we are. Brenton writes, "For so long, the Star Wars Legends continuity has had an avid fan base drawn from the pool of those hungry for more Star Wars content than the feature films could give them. This loyalty to Legends sparked a lot of backlash when Disney purchased the property and rendered much of the expanded universe non-canon. But over time, that anger soured into an ugly trend. Legends has had a lot of charm as a canon, but it loses a lot of that charm when wielded as a weapon for gatekeepers bashing on newer fans." Interesting. Very interesting. Of course, don't expect any evidence presented in this article, so Brenton can say anything or imply anything without backing any of this up. It's actually a lot harder to respond to baseless claims, because I can only come back with anecdotal evidence about EU fans. Yeah, the Star Wars Legends continuity did, and still does, have a huge fan base for those who want to go beyond the Star Wars films. And Disney sparked a backlash when they made it non-canon and discontinued it. Oh, hell yeah, they did. This is what I meant when I said toxic behavior should not be confused with criticism. We're not just going to swallow every little thing Disney puts out and say, "Everything is amazing, you better not say anything bad about Disney Star Wars. You don't want to be labeled as toxic, do you?" Like I said, I don't care about the new canon, and I don't care if people love it or hate it. Last Jedi could have been 2.5 hours of nothing but Luke drinking green milk from that sea monster boob. It's not part of my continuity, so they can do whatever they want with it. If you love it, great, but I guess because I choose to ignore it, I'm the gatekeeper. Brenton didn't provide any examples of EU fans bashing newer fans, but I just have to laugh so hard at that. Every EU fan I know wants to spread their love of EU and share it with new fans. We're thrilled when people ask us for book recommendations. We don't turn our noses up at casual fans. EU fans have had their own charity organization called the Twin Suns Foundation to spread the expanded universe to as many people as possible. I've said it from the first video on my channel. The expanded universe is a great alternative to people who are disappointed in the new canon. It's also an alternative for people who are huge fans of the new canon too. How can I be gatekeeping when there is no gate? I want everyone to come on over to my yard. Even people that are hating on the EU, I would rather have a discussion or a debate with them. Anyway, Brenton continues. Back when it was known as the Expanded Universe, or EU continuity, fans of the franchise explored books and comics to discover the backstories and futures of the characters they saw on the silver screen. Such continuity seldom had much effect on the films themselves, and indeed the EU itself could be a tangled web of contradictions at times, which was part of the reason it was easiest for Disney to create its own sequel stories. We love the EU for getting to learn more about the backstories of the characters we watched on the silver screen. You were absolutely right about that. Though, as to not having a big effect on the films, I think you'd be surprised to learn how much of the EU got incorporated into the prequels. And even though you didn't mention any, I agree, there have been some contradictions at times. But I don't think that's why Disney decided to create their own story for the sequels. I think a lot of it had to do with the laziness in corporate boardroom playing it safe as possible, which is why I think the sequels came out the way they did, as a watered-down retelling of the original trilogy. As admitted by several people who worked on the film, there was no plan for this universe or these characters. Disney decided to make these movies long before they had a story in mind, because they really only saw how much money that they could potentially make. If you got people who really cared about the lore, you could have incorporated the EU into the sequels. It would have taken some work, but I would have appreciated the effort, as would many hardcore fans, and new fans would be opened up to the web of storytelling that is the expanded universe. Maybe if they did that, the fan base would feel a lot less divided to you. Brent continues, throughout the 90s and 2000s, such contradictions mattered very little to fans who knew the EU inside and out. Essentially, there was a good-humored attitude towards Legends, one which may have made many fans feel special for knowing the complete story casual moviegoers would never see, but one which there was no demand for every Star Wars fan to have familiarity with. Over time, that seemed to change following the Disney buyout. Confining Legends to its own separate canon was viewed as an unforgivable attack against true fans, many of whom hated the sequel trilogy, creators, and moviegoers who liked the Disney canon. Brenton is generalizing a whole lot here, but he starts off okay. Yes, in the 90s and 2000s, the contradictions mattered very little to EU fans, mostly because there wasn't that many. And there was a good attitude towards EU back then, because there didn't have to be this neurotic notion that everything is on the same level of canon equally. That was the beauty of the hierarchy of canon. If fans only wanted to follow the movies, okay, then they followed G-canon. And if you dug a little deeper, read some of the books and comics, then you probably followed C-canon. All part of the same continuity, as Leland G stated, but EU fans don't reasonably expect all casual moviegoers to follow the books, like Brenton said. And it's hard to tell through text, but it feels like he gets a little facetious with the last sentence of this paragraph, claiming that EU fans not only consider themselves true quote-unquote fans, many of which hate the sequel trilogy creators and moviegoers who like Disney canon. Again, with no evidence. But am I supposed to not be upset that Disney combined Legends to its own separate canon? Actually, that's not the part that upsets me. I take a little more issue with our separate canon not having anything added to it. If there was, you probably wouldn't hear a peep out of us hateful EU fans. I don't hate the sequels. I don't care about them. My issue with the creators is that they are ignoring the EU and EU fans. But I don't hate them. I just think they're doing a horrible job running Star Wars. And I certainly don't hate moviegoers who like Disney canon. You can like whatever you want. Brenton continues. It was a ripe environment for gatekeeping breed, and even now the Legends continuity serves as some kind of litmus test of whether or not a fan is real or true. If someone simply prefers the Disney canon, they deserve no such vitriol. But go to most any online Star Wars discussion, and the preference for Legends continuity amongst the fans will say otherwise. This divide between Disney canon fans and Legends diehards has rendered a very toxic and unwelcoming environment for the Star Wars fan base. I've never encouraged hatred or vitriol towards someone who prefers Disney canon. Again, Brenton provides absolutely no evidence, so I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself too. I've been part of many EU/Legends online communities. Never once had to argue that I was a real and true fan. You really want to know what goes on in these evil communities? I'll let you in on the big secret. We like to talk about the stories we read and our favorite characters. Sometimes we even debate on which stories we like more. So toxic, so unwelcoming. Also, note that he's saying the blame lies completely with EU fans too. It's not Disney canon fans doing anything wrong. It's just the Legends diehards. Britton concludes by saying, Disney creating their own canon does not erase the years of work that went into Legends, nor does it invalidate the time and effort its fans spent on it. Getting overly concerned with what is and isn't canon, and the legitimacy of either, is not of the true Star Wars spirit. Fandom should be an opportunity to celebrate common interests, not battlegrounds to prove how much more authority one person has over another. Any fans of the old expanded universe that perceive the new canon as a threat would do well to put their fear aside. After all, it will only lead to anger, anger will lead to hate, and hate will lead to suffering. It's a Star Wars reference. How fun! I'm not saying the new canon erases the work that went into Legends, or invalidating the fans. I want the new canon to continue and thrive. I assume you do too. Would you also want the Legends universe to have more added to it? If the answer is yes, then that is super awesome because that is all we are asking for. And if you don't want the Legends universe to continue, like it currently isn't, then you are saying the new canon should be the only Star Wars that deserves more content added to it. If I want both continuities to continue, and you only want just Disney canon, then maybe it's not actually the Legends fans that are being the gatekeepers.